Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November. I hope you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. So, happy birthday for any late November Sagittarians. Anyway, let's get on and see what this month has for you. Can I have 3 cards, please, for Sagittarius? Oh, there's the first one. We have the Ten of Wands in your recent past. Current energy, please, for Sagittarius. Wow. We have the Emperor and the Five of Swords in reverse. I like this. And what's coming towards Sagittarius, please, for November? Oh, we have the Page of Wands and the Two of Swords in reverse there. That's interesting. High Priestess at the bottom of the deck. A month for intuitive moves, no doubt, I think. Let's get some clarifiers. Yeah, I'll go with you and see what this is all about. To say, when I started the meditation before I began recording to connect with your energy, I was sat here and the sun came out from behind a cloud and just got stronger and stronger and stronger, brighter and brighter and brighter, and I couldn't help but feel like it was related to your energy and the way that it's expanding this month, Sagittarius. Yeah, there's quite a bit going on here, but let's have a look. Please tell me about Ten of Wands, please. Thank you. We have the High Priestess. Oh, interesting. Ten of Wands. Thank you. 8 of Pentacles. That makes sense. Tell me about the Emperor, please. Ace of Pentacles. Fucking hell. These cards. 10 of Pentacles. One more. Thank you. And we've got the Two of Wands. And then, what about this Page of Wands and Two of Swords in reverse, please? Where's this here? Thank you. We have Justice and the Page of Pentacles there. And one more, because we did have 3 coming out there. And one more, please. Cards are really misbehaving. Right, behave. Why is this here? Alright, well, it's going to be the Empress. Okay, so at the bottom of the deck we've got the 9 of Wands, and I'm not really surprised to see that there for you. You have got the 10. But here's the thing, Sag, I don't feel like you are breaking your back at the moment. I don't feel like you're working so hard that you that you're finding it difficult to get up in the morning. However, there is some sort of pressure that is building within you, and it's pretty strong. Right, this 9 of Wands at the bottom of the deck here, right? It's often a card that deals with resilience and boundaries, and those things might absolutely apply. But more, I'm looking at the expression on his face, and it's an expression of wary expectation. Wary expectation. There is something that you are seeing coming. I think there's something that you're working towards also at the same time. And there's a sense here that you need to be ready. That's what I'm feeling. It's very strong. You need to be ready for something. The card that you've got sitting behind that is the Chariot, card that deals with determination and motivation and discipline and all those sorts of things, right? So it's goal setting and certainly goal achieving too. But you're not quite there yet. Like, it feels like there's a lot that you're preparing for. It's about preparation. Now, in terms of what we've got here in your recent past, we do have the 10 of Wands. And that is a card of burden. It's a card of hard work. It is clarified by the High Priestess and the 8 of Pentacles here. It does often indicate an end, except that I don't feel that that is what it is meaning here for you, right? The completion aspect of it comes from the fact that it's a 10. But it is more a sense that whatever you are working on at the moment, whatever it is more specifically that you are working towards, what it is that you are readying yourself for, you might be working hard now, and that isn't going to end anytime soon, right? It's kind of like locking the mindset into the fact that this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? There's a lot here about endurance, certainly in this bit here. And that's okay. That is okay. There's a point of time in your life where that probably wouldn't have been okay, but it is absolutely okay now, because there's an interesting feeling that I have about delayed gratification here, which is not something that is usually associated with Sagittarius, and yet I think is something that Sagittarius has always been capable of. You just need to be motivated in the right way, and it possibly is that for the first time in your life you've discovered what that right way is. You know, Sagittarians can get quite single-minded and obsessed about things, actually, and I think it's that this notion that Sagittarius can draw a bow and fire an arrow off and it'll disappear into the distance, right, and nobody knows where it's gone. Sagittarius knows where it is. And they might not take a straight route to it. They might backwards and forwards, and they might go and investigate some rustling in the bushes over there first, you know, but they never lose sight of where the arrow has gone. Now, I don't think actually it's the first time that you've felt like this. I think that this is probably something that's come up for you periodically, but it's something that other people don't tend to appreciate about you. And when you set your sights on a goal, whether or not you are going there directly, like, you know, do not pass go, do not collect £200, go directly to this thing, or whether you choose to amble around and investigate things a little bit first, you know, the point at which the arrow has landed is locked into the Sagittarian mind. And for you, that means necessarily that there is hard work coming up, right? We see it here. Possibly even burden at times, but it isn't sufficient to stop the benefit of what you're aiming towards being outweighed by the work that you're putting in, right? And I think that the High Priestess, this Pisces card here, is a really interesting dimension that is added to the equation, because it speaks to you moving intuitively, perhaps being guided intuitively, but following something that at the moment feels indistinct, perhaps isn't even visible to other people, but it's indistinct, but you know when you get closer to this thing that you're going to feel it. Like the High Priestess is always moving on feeling and intuition. There's an internal knowing that the High Priestess relies on in order to navigate herself around, and that feels to me like that's where you are at the moment. And this, although it's the difference between how everybody else perceives you and how you perceive yourself. Now, I think that you've done this sort of thing on and off many times in your life, and I don't think that other people have understood it. More, I think that you haven't realised that that's how you work either. But now you're much more self-aware than you ever have been before, and now when your intuition speaks, you understand it for being that, and you also understand that it is necessary to follow that wherever it leads you, without questioning, without getting so distracted that you forget that it's spoken. And this spiritual aspect of the situation, and it does feel like it's highly spiritual to me, actually, Sagittarius, is saying you go this way, you work hard, you do the things, you prepare, you know? Well, that's High Priestess. Seven of Swords. You get ready to take some big risks because they are being highlighted for you coming up. Now, that kind of sets the scene for where you are right now, or sets the foundation at least. We know that you've got some sort of aim. We know that there's some sort of drive that's following it. And we also know that you are working highly intuitively at this point, right? It's not an A plus B equals C sort of situation as far as most other people who are looking at you can work out at this time. But that doesn't matter because, you know, as I always say, that the High Priestess is a message for you and you alone. it isn't for wider consumption. You don't need to explain yourself, and you don't need to present evidence for other people either. It is sufficient that the High Priestess has spoken and you have listened. More than that, you have also fired your arrow, you know where it's landed, and now it's about working towards getting to that, right? You might do a little bit of side questing here and there, you know, because that's what Sagittarians do. But ultimately, that goal, you are completely psychically connected to. It's like you don't even need to see the arrow. It's all in the feeling for you. Now, in your current energy, we have the Emperor and the Five of Swords. Now, the Emperor is a card that seems to have been showing up quite a lot for a lot of signs this month. I'm almost certain it's shown up for all of the fire signs. It's also shown up for Aquarius. I think it might have shown up for Gemini too, right? It's something that's coming through very strongly. And for some people, they are reaping the rewards of their labours now, right? Stuff that they've been doing up until now. Now is where the gifts are coming in, the benefits are coming in. For others, and I include you in this, Sagittarius, it seems like this is the point where the plan is starting to come together. Like Sagittarians, yeah. Planning isn't something that's often associated with you, but it is something that you can do, albeit intuitively, rather than, you know, how other people would understand it. The Emperor says this is about getting your ducks in a row, and this is what you're doing at the moment. So, for example, part of getting your ducks in a row might be the understanding that you need to put your head down and you really need to work. You know, maybe you need money for something. Maybe you need... If you're employed, maybe you need the boss in you to be in the boss's good graces so that you can have some time off at some point in the future. Right? You got to take it as it resonates to you. It's going to be different for each of you. But I think that this Five of Swords in the reverse is really quite an intriguing aspect to this, because the Five of Swords is sometimes known as the Lord of Cruelty. That one, actually. In this particular deck, it always feels like self-sabotage to me. And yeah, we can talk about cognitive loops and we can talk about, you know, falling out with people and all that sort of thing. But I don't feel like any of those apply. It feels like it's self-sabotage. Now, that is something that you are known for, Sagittarius, and you know that, you know, well yourself. You know, whether you're destructively creative or creatively destructive, sometimes there's a bit of self-sabotage that falls in there along the way, but the fact that this has turned up in the reverse is an absolute stabilization of your energy. There's a lot of very stable, very grounded energy with you at the moment, and I think this is amazing because Sagittarians can get a bit fizzy sometimes. So the word I used to use to describe my daughter. And she used to be so sad because animals wouldn't react to her the same way that they react to her brother, right? So her brother's a Leo, and he's always had a slow heartbeat, and he's always been very calm about everything all the time. And, you know, animals would literally just come and, like, fall asleep on him. And we had some little chicks once, and they would come and, like, nestle in here and go to sleep. And the second she went anywhere near them, they were just in this state of absolute panic, and they would literally run away from her. And she would be so sad. And I said, oh, Donna, it's because your energy is so fizzy. And she was like, I would be fizzy. But it was, right? She literally, the air around her used to literally crackle because she's a little Sagittarius. She was just this big ball of fizzy energy. And, you know, this sort of sex, drugs and rock and roll, like the hedonistic aspect of Sagittarians, which can be fun, or it can sometimes be escapism, and possibly it might be a mixture of both, was usually pretty ungrounded. You have been pretty ungrounded. You have been in some ways maybe a little bit unstable, but that's kind of how you liked it, because if you stood still, that was death. Like, you don't want that. You want to be constantly moving. You seem to have found a way now of being grounded, being solid, being disciplined, for sure, but also holding on to that fire, right? I feel like we've almost talked about this every reading that I've done for you this year, right, there's a real evolution and maturation of your fire energy. Now, the Emperor is the King of Kings, right, in so much as each one of the kings is an aspect of the Emperor. So in and of itself, a move from the Knight of Wands to the King of Wands, for example, would be indicative of some hella growing up, right, that's happened. An incredible sense of ownership, a really good sense of timing. Sagittarians are pretty good at timing as well. But this Emperor is an order of magnitude above even the King of Wands. This is truly getting ready to rule an empire, metaphorically speaking, unless any of you are planning on, you know, invading other countries and stuff, and I would never put anything past a Sagittarius. Like, maybe that might be a thing. The Emperor is getting hold of every single aspect of your life and taking your plan, taking your strategy and funneling it into what the outcome is that you want. It's not attachment to outcome. It's refusing to sabotage yourself. And by extension, it is about owning your own power. And I think that that is something that Saggis have swerved for quite a long time. But you're kind of, you're not kind of, you are. You have grown into this role now. Now, when I first started the channel, Sagittarians were kind of fizzing all over the place and being like, right? Because that's what Sagittarians do. But I have noticed a distinct shift in the way that the energy has been presenting over the last few years. Like, you have learned, you have grown, you have evolved, you've become actually very wise. And you're also not one for expending your energy where it doesn't need to go, right? Maybe that's the wisdom of old age and all that kind of thing. But it's like, when you want to be able to spin on a sixpence, you can do it. But you can do it in a much more powerful way now. You can affect a lot more change than you used to. Because you don't expend energy for the sake of it. The fact that we've got something that you are absolutely focused on at this point, actually slightly intimidated, but I've got a little feeling just here. I'm like, holy shit. We've got the ace to the 10 here. That's a hell of a jump. And one that I think that you are getting ready to make. Now, it could be about investment that you are making into something, right? We could definitely see you considering buying a house or something like that. We could possibly even see you coming up with a business idea that could be quite lucrative here. But what I see is there's no desire to really hit any of the pentacles other than the 8 on your springboard between the ace and the 10 here. Here is your attention. Here is what you have to invest. And this is where you want to end up. And you're not afraid to put in the hard work to do it. Like, this feels like a settling in of your mind to this idea that it is a sprint. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That you have to pace yourself with this, because you don't want to hit every pentacle card along the way. You know, there are some pretty tricky cards, and there are in all of the suits, right? It's a bit like playing Monopoly when, you know, somebody's got the entire top line and there's like 2 spaces where you can drop. I played a lot of Monopoly with my kids when we were in Bulgaria. I think that's probably where that's come from. And you go from free parking to the, you know, go to jail, right? Whatever the next one is there. And you've got to bounce through without hitting any of these things that have got hotels on. Like, this feels to me the kind of action plan that you've got. You want to put all of your energy into something and you want to flip it quickly. Well, that's an interesting turn of phrase, flip it quickly. You're not interested in hitting every one of these things that will power you down financially, emotionally, materially, or mentally possibly along the way. It's got to be clean and it's got to be efficient, and it's got to go from the potential to a tangible outcome via hard work. In what? 1 move? 2 moves? the interesting thing for me, of the many interesting things that are here on this table, is this Two of Wands. Because it fits very neatly with the Emperor, right? You are the Emperor, but one of the things that makes the Emperor is the active work that he puts into strategizing and planning what comes next. Right? The Two of Wands is about a crossroads. Like, there are a series of decisions that are needing to be made here by you. This is how you express this Emperor energy, right? It's about making the big fucking decisions, about the buck stopping with you here, about the plans that you make, and then how you execute them. But this Two of Wands is like, there are lots of little decisions that need to be made in the interim too, and some of them relate to where you are right now and what you have to do to get yourself even to the Ace of Pentacles. But then also from the Ace of Pentacles to the 10. How do we navigate this, right? Your brain feels like it's kind of, in some ways, it's kind of fizzy, but it's thinking in straight lines. What is the most efficient route from A to B? And how can I make this happen? You know, it's almost like what you've done is taken all of the fizzy excess energy and you're now channeling it. It's very grounded. It's very practical. But it feels like it's completely taking over your head at the moment. It feels like actually there's no space for anything else to be contemplated, and that, I think, is kind of cool, because it's about your priorities and where they lie and where you are prepared to let them lie. So it might be that you find yourself making some actually kind of relatively challenging decisions without giving it too much thought, because it's obvious that that needs to be done in order for you to progress to the next step. Like 6 months ago, you might have really struggled over these little decisions that you're making. Now you're like, nah, that's what needs to be done. I'm going to do that. It's all very Emperor-like. I like it, Sagittarius. So what we have coming towards you is quite intriguing, because we have the Page of Wands and we have the Two of Swords. Now, the Page of Wands is a card for me of not movement, but precursor to movement, right? It's that point where you start to get, you know, kind of excited about things, when you start to try and plan things, you know. Say, for example, it's a really shit example, but I'm going to throw it in here anyway, right? When you book a holiday and it's like 6 months in front and you're like, you know, you kind of vaguely think about it, but as the time gets closer, as you get within a month of the fact that you're going away, and suddenly you start thinking about the, you know, the things that will actually help you do stuff while you're away. So you've got to pack your case, and you've got to make sure that you've got, you know, your toothbrush and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, I'm just giggling because, like, the Saggies travel pretty light, right? You're not like a Leo having to fill 16 cases, you know, for an outfit for every occasion. Like, you're kind of backpack people. But nevertheless, a certain amount of planning needs to go into what you're doing, because you're not just backpacking around now. There's something bigger than this going on, right? But there's also, like, how you're going to travel to the destination. And once you've got there, how are you going to travel to your airport, your your hotel, or your Airbnb, or your campsite that you're staying on, like whatever it is, right? And then what are you going to do when you're there? What are the exciting things that you can find out about now that you can do while you're there, that you can start to look forward to? Do you see what I mean? It's like the stage before the movement, when plans are sufficiently set that it is able, that you are able to start filling in little gaps here, there and everywhere, right? It's putting meat on the bones of something that you have already started. Now, this Two of Swords is interesting though, because this is kind of willful ignorance. This is the things that you don't see. When we turn it the other way around, as you have done here, this is about the things that we didn't see before that we absolutely do see now. And part of that might be consequences. And I don't say that in a kind of negative, pejorative sense. The consequences actually feel really like they're warming the cockles of your heart here. You know, there might be aspects to the plan that you hadn't really foreseen what the, you know, what the corollary of would be, that now are starting to permeate your consciousness to the degree that it feels like it's better than you thought it could have been, than even you had imagined when you first threw that arrow through it. let fly the arrow in the first place. There's a sense here of you. Well, it feels a little bit like, you know, when you kind of trip over a purpose, and I'm not going to say like your purpose or the purpose or anything like that, but you trip across one of your purposes and it lights you up. You know, you just get that kind of like that intense flame of motivation and discipline and passion for something, and you're just like, I'm going to throw everything that I have at this thing, and it feels really, really good. It feels like that. It feels like you're getting lit up by something because it's turning out to be better than you could have hoped, better than you imagined. And there's still a ways to go. We see that with the Page of Pentacles. But the Page of Pentacles is still movement on from the 10. You know, the tarot runs from the Ace to the 10, and then you've got the Page through King in the court hierarchy too. But you're skipping over the King and you're going to the Empress. This is mad big moves, Sagittarius. Maybe that was just as good. We've got the Hermit. No, we've got the Ten of Wands, and we've got the Hermit. And we've got the Six of Cups. And possibly if there are children in the mix here somewhere, then it's possibly relating to them. It possibly has something to do with them, because we've got the Six of Cups and we've got the Page of Pentacles. We've also got the Ten of Wands and we've got the Hermit. So we've got a bit of introspection as to whether all of this is going to work out for them. And the answer is yes, it is. It doesn't put a burden on them at all. It feels like all the hard work is worth it for them, actually, is how this feels. If you don't have children, then it's more about your past. Perhaps your significant relationships, if you've got a soulmate who's involved in something with you here. It feels like everything is working out better than you could have anticipated, better than you would have dared hope. The consequences of this suddenly aren't just X, Y, and Z, but because something's changed, something changes this month. Oh, that's interesting. We're going to dig into that in the extended. Something changes this month so that, yes, what you have planned at X, Y, and Z absolutely still occurs, but there are additional benefits of now, say, A to G on a level above this because something else has changed in the interim. And all of these additional benefits are now opened up. This is intriguing. This is very, very interesting. So, Page to Empress. I feel like this is an expression of your self-sabotage getting the fuck out of the way. Right? There's no overthinking here. There's no panic. There's no anxiety. And I do feel like Sagittarians deal with a great deal of low-level anxiety all of the time. Or at least you did. I feel like that's kind of dissipated over the last year or so. And I think it was a difficult thing to admit to yourself that you did suffer in that way. I don't hear it often talked about with Sagittarians, and I feel like it should be, you know, so that you understand that it's not something about you. As my daughter said to me once, I'm a really shit Sagittarius, I'm scared of everything. I'm like, no, you're not. You just got to grow into it, that's all. And I maintain that's correct, and she is growing into it, and she's fucking terrifying. I have to say, she's an absolute little loon, bless her. When you get the fuck out of your own way, when your subconscious gets the fuck out of your way, you are considerably more powerful than you ever thought you could be. You know, I think there's something about Sagittarius quite happily like tickling along at the edges of stuff, right? If there's something they really want to get involved in, then they'll be right there in the middle. But for the rest of it, they're quite happy to go off to the side. Just, you know, trot along over there. Get distracted by something. Go off in a different direction. Come back because you found everybody again, you know? You feel so focused to me. And it doesn't feel like there is anything that is chuntering away in the background of your mind going, oh, is this a good idea? Oh, are you even going to be able to pull this off? Maybe you're expecting a bit much of yourself here. Why do you even think that you should do this? There's none of that here at all. There's a very clear, efficient direction of travel. There's an acceptance that in some ways you're going to have to start lower than you want to. Maybe you need to learn some more things. That's possible. The Page of Pentacles is a card of a student, right? But there's no like, I can't do that. There's like, I just don't know how to do that yet. I haven't looked it up. It's that kind of energy. Right? You're not allowing the self-sabotage a route in anywhere. And you're coming up majors. You're coming up Emperor and you're coming up Empress. You know, this isn't just planning and strategy, but this is also creativity and abundance and wonderful things. Well, the Tower flipped in the deck there. So I feel like you're on with something actually really quite extraordinary. There's some sort of big movement that you are making in your life, attempting to make, and you've got the King of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles there. Again, reiterating the same thing. Delayed gratification, making a plan and sticking with it, being committed to it, being incredibly focused. Like, Sagittarius, I do not know what you are up to, but it's really nice to see this side of you. I think it's been coming through for a while, but I think that you are truly feeling it now. And that is, it's quite the thing to behold. This is the mindset of champions right here. You know, like kickboxing background. I can tell you 80% of a fight, like, you know, a boxing fight, a kickboxing fight, something like that, right? In a tournament setting or in a, you know, a ring setting, whatever, 80% of that fight happens before the fight happens. It's all about mindset, and it's all about how you go into that ring, right? How you fought with yourself before you get there. Of seeing people who are more technically skilled and possibly even fitter lose to people who are just that bit more mentally prepared for what goes on. You know, they don't lose their shit, they don't freak out, they keep plodding on. Not that I think you're less technically capable than anybody else or what like that, but it's underlining the fact that the mindset is really huge for you. Your self-sabotage streak, the deliciously destructively creative way that you exist, has been a blessing and it has been a curse. It's been a blessing because it's kept you very fluid, and it's got you into some situations that certainly, you know, you've probably been able to dine out on for a while. It's exposed you to experiences that you would not have had in any other situation, right? And they're definitely experiences that, say, for example, earth signs would have. They're just not the same. I always think it's really amazing that Sagittarius actually even make it to adulthood sometimes, right? With this, some of the crazy stuff that they do, right? But it's all about testing boundaries and testing your own limits. I'm not sure that you've found your limits, but you've certainly found what has been the limiting factor with you, and it's always been what's going on in your own head. Without that chuntering away in the background, you're almost unstoppable. And as tuned in as you are, as you seem to be right now, I think as long as you are trusting your intuition at every single step, as long as you are paying attention to the sensitivities that you have, rather than treating them like, you know, ways in which you are weak and stuff like that, as we've discussed on this channel before, you're just going to fly. Because you've done everything in the right order, and there is absolutely no reason why you cannot go from the ace to the 10 via the 8. None whatsoever. I love this for you, Sagittarius. Like, there's definitely something going down for you here in in the month of November. I'm interested to know what this is. And we're definitely going to get into that in the extended. So if you want to join me for that, the link is in the description box, take you to Vimeo, you can see it there, or you can join the circle community, and you can get access to all of the extendeds then for no extra cost on top. So you could maybe look at your moon sign or your rising sign. You could even look at your Mars and Venus if that's what you wanted to do, right? Or you can cross-watch for someone else, no judgment there. Do whatever you've got to do, yeah? But if none of that applies, just know that the way that you are jogging along here, like, you're being very sure-footed. And you're progressing at exactly the rate that you should be. You're not going too fast that you're going to trip over your feet. You're not going so slowly that you're going to miss out on opportunities. This is clean. This is efficient. And I fucking love it. So keep doing it. Okay. Right, Saggies. I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I will see you soon.